The Galactic Union Hall was loud. Aliens of all shapes and sizes spoke over each other. They laughed, argued, sipped glowing drinks, and on the large holoscreen at the center of the room, a human mother cried. She was young. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen from tears. Her voice trembled as she spoke. My child is gone, taken from our backyard. This is the third one this week. Please, someone, help us. Some aliens turned away. A few frowned, but most laughed. Humans cry for everything, a reptilian delegate said with a grin. Emotional creatures, weak minds. They breed so many young, another added, swirling his drink. Losing one shouldn't matter. A blue-skinned female diplomat from the Gorky sector smirked. Are we supposed to care when animals lose their pups? The room chuckled again. Earth's ambassador, an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, stood silently at the edge of the room. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just watched. Behind him, dozens of similar holoscreens showed human parents. Fathers on their knees. Siblings screaming. Teachers standing in empty classrooms. All begging. All crying. For weeks, human children had been disappearing. One from a farm, another from a school. A baby from a hospital nursery. No signs of entry. No damage, no blood. Just gone. The Galactic Union called it local Earth problems. They claimed it was human crime, maybe a new illness. Nothing for interstellar government to worry about. When Earth asked for help, they got silence, but humans weren't silent. Their news channels ran stories 24/7. Military leaders demanded answers. Mothers protested in the streets. Fathers searched forests and cities with weapons in hand. The worst part? No one claimed the kidnappings. No alien race admitted fault. No ransom demands. No threats, just empty beds and broken families. 3 days later, something changed. Earth's signals, TV, radio, data streams stopped. No warnings. No goodbye, just black screens. Some aliens laughed again. Finally turned off their noise, said one leader. They're grieving. They'll move on, said another. But in deep space, something strange happened. A Zarthan freighter disappeared from sensors. It was traveling near the edge of Sol system. No distress call, no debris found. No response. The same day, a satellite near Mars began spinning wildly. Then it exploded. No known weapon fired at it. The next morning, the communication grid in Sector 4B of the Union shut down. Gone. Millions of systems dark. Not hacked, not jammed. Just removed. Union tech teams were confused. Maybe a solar flare, they said. Maybe Earth's sun changed. But Earth's sun was stable. The humans, however, were not. In the halls of the Union, concern turned into unease. Some began to whisper, why is Earth so quiet? Did they launch weapons? No. No military movement. No ships in orbit. Then what are they doing? No one had answers. The council called Earth's ambassador. He didn't come. They sent messages. No replies. A group of drones was sent to Earth's atmosphere. They were small, fast, and unarmed. They entered Earth's orbit. Sent back one image. It showed Earth. Glowing red dot. Then the signal died. The drones vanished. A week later, an alien news station played footage from a Growler supply ship. It had stopped by one of its own space stations to refuel. What they found was nothing. The station was gone. In its place, a field of floating glass and frozen air. It looked like a crater in space. There was no explosion. No signs of battle. Just silence and ruin. They checked the logs. The last recorded event? A small human lullaby. A song. Sung by a child. Panic spread. The Galactic Union gathered again. This time no one laughed. Who is doing this? The Gorky diplomat asked, could it be Earth? Said another. No, someone replied. They don't have that power. The human ambassador still didn't speak. He just stood, hands folded, eyes dark. One alien walked up to him. Is this your doing? The ambassador finally spoke. We asked for help. You called us animals. Now, we listen to nothing. We speak to no one. But what do you want? The ambassador looked at the holoscreen. A new human mother was crying. Her child had vanished that morning. He replied quietly. We want our children. That is all. Then he turned and walked out. That was the last time the council ever saw him. Across the galaxy, more strange events occurred. A research lab on planet Koza exploded from the inside. A mining colony on asteroid belt Zeta 9 reported seeing ghosts of human children just before they all disappeared. A warship from the warrior race Bragle entered Earth's orbit. It vanished 3 minutes later. All that remained was a single word, written in English, floating in space. Return. Aliens started to whisper a name. The silence. That's what they called it now. Because everywhere humans had gone silent, death followed. Not loud death. Not war. Just absence. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, a small alien child asked her father, "Why are they doing this?" The father, a former union engineer, looked at his daughter, his face pale. His hands shaking, he said. They were peaceful. Until someone touched their young. More union members called emergency meetings, but their systems began to fail. Translation devices stopped working. Their assistants refused commands. One ship's oxygen system reversed itself. The crew died in minutes. No trace of hacking. No trace of sabotage. Failure. Across 10 sectors, Earth-based music began playing on random channels. Soft piano. Sad notes. Lullabies. The same melody. Again and again. Alien leaders started shutting off their own networks. Scared, a fleet was prepared to attack Earth. 12 battlecruisers, armed with plasma cannons and shield-burst bombs. They never made it. They launched. They flew, and then, gone. Sensors say they never reached halfway. Just disappeared. Not a sound. Not a fight. Nothing. Later, a tiny Earth drone was found drifting nearby. On it, a message. Did you feel it when they screamed? A rumor began. Some said humans had built something, not a weapon. Something worse. An AI child, a machine that felt loss, sadness, anger. That remembered every missing face. That learned not from code, but grief. Others said it wasn't a machine at all. It was human pain, turned alive, and it had no name. No face, just a goal. Bring the children back. Or erase everything. Galactic citizens began leaving outer sectors, fleeing toward the core, scared, silent, lights off. They stopped saying, humans are weak. Now they said, do not touch their young. One race, the Tranix, sent back the 2 children they had taken, alive, untouched. They placed them in orbit near Earth. A beam from Earth took them and Earth sent nothing back, not even thanks. But after that, the Tranix stopped losing ships. It was clear. Earth wasn't at war. It wasn't angry. It wasn't shouting. It was just empty. And that emptiness was destroying everything. Weeks passed. The galaxy tried to return to normal, but it couldn't. Every star, every station, every ship lived in fear. No one wanted to be next. So they watched the skies. Waiting. Listening. But Earth remained silent. And the silence was worse than any war. Back on Earth, the planet looked peaceful. No smoke, no flames, no alarms. Just quiet cities. Still oceans, dark skies. No sound, except the soft hum of machines. Listening. Watching. And waiting for someone to bring the children home. Because if they didn't, the silence would grow, and the stars would fade one by one, until the galaxy forgot how to laugh. Just like the mothers did. Month had passed since Earth went silent. No signal, no message, no warning. The Galactic Union thought humans were planning war, but they were wrong. War meant movement. War meant fleets and armies, but Earth's skies were still. No ships launched, no weapons fired, and yet, planets were dying. On the outer edge of Sector 12, the planet Vizek was full of life. Blue lakes, yellow clouds, towers made of crystal and stone. The Vizeki people were proud. Rich, intelligent. They had taken 5 human children over the past year. For research, they claimed. No pain. Just studies, their doctors had said. When Earth demanded their return, the Vizeki laughed. They are just small humans. What harm could come from testing their minds? That night, every single Vizeki communication line went dead. Their satellites fell from orbit. Their cities went dark. Their sky turned red and then black. By morning, 96% of the population was gone. No fire, no disease, no sign of attack. Only one thing was found on every wall, building, and screen. A small human handprint. The Union panicked. This is war. One commander shouted. No, whispered another. War makes noise. This is something else. Dozens of fleets were ordered to scan Earth's orbit. Nothing. No movement. No ships in space. Earth looked peaceful. Too peaceful. It scared them. The Union sent an elite ship, the Observer. It was covered in cloaking tech. No heat, no sound. Invisible. It floated near Earth's moon. Gathering data. Everything looked normal. Birds flew. Waves moved. Lights blinked in buildings. But the longer the Observer watched, the more afraid they became. Time moved strangely. Hours passed inside the ship, but Earth's shadows didn't move. Stars above Earth shifted. The moon dimmed. And then, every crew member on the Observer received the same image on their internal screens. A classroom. Empty chairs. One desk. Stained red. Then the screen went black. The Observer sent an emergency jump signal. But it never arrived. The ship was lost. All that remained was a short audio clip. A child's voice, whispering, "Don't watch us, bring them back." By now, fear controlled the Union. Delegates demanded answers. What was Earth doing? How were they attacking? And why couldn't anyone see it? Then came the second collapse. Planet Zarnok Prime, the center of genetic science, went quiet. No messages. No exports. No energy signatures. Union scouts arrived to check. They found no people. No machines. Only empty buildings and strange plants growing from the walls. Inside every home, they found the same thing. A doll, a human doll, eyes open. Arms stretched out, like it was waiting for a hug. The Zarnok were one of the first species to capture human children. They believed in experimenting on emotions. They tested fear, pain, separation. Now, their labs were covered in vines, every AI destroyed. Above the Capitol building, burned into the metal roof, you studied our pain. Now live in emptiness. Union Council met again. No laughter this time. No jokes, only shaking hands. Pale faces. Angry voices. The Gorky diplomat shouted, "Why is Earth not being stopped?" The Bragle general slammed the table. "Because we can't see them. We can't. Fight what's not there. They are animals," one shouted. "They act on emotion." The room fell silent. Then, the Union leader stood up. A tall, gray alien with 3 glowing eyes. He said calmly, "No, they were emotional. Now they are something else." He pointed to the stars. "Something colder is moving now, something inhuman." Across the galaxy, strange signs appeared. A star in Sector 9 dimmed for exactly 17 seconds every hour. A mining moon cracked open, releasing a gas that made aliens dream about human lullabies. A comet changed direction on its own, carving letters into space dust. "Do not touch the young." The Union tried to fight back. They built stronger firewalls. They shut down wormholes. They even banned the word Earth in public systems. But it was too late. One by one, their tools failed. Their tech began acting strange. Ships stopped mid-flight. Assistants froze or started singing songs from Earth. In one case, a battlecruiser's weapon systems rewired themselves and played a video of a human child smiling. The crew wept. Then vanished. Only their clothes remained. Back on Earth, no one answered calls. No one replied to threats. But one thing was clear: every race that had taken even a single child was disappearing. Not through war, but through absence. No traces. No signs. Just removal. On the planet Halrix, a scientist made a theory. He said Earth had created a new kind of weapon, a soft weapon. Grief turned into code. He believed Earth's pain had become something more, an invisible wave, powered by every parent's broken heart, a living algorithm of loss. He called it the Morning Net. But before he could publish the paper, his lab went dark. He was never seen again. All that remained on his desk was a single note: "You gave us sorrow. We gave it shape." Union members began apologizing. One small species, the Velari, sent a message to Earth: "We took 3. We are sorry. We returned them. Please, forgive us." There was no reply, but the Velari world remained untouched. They built statues of the children. They whispered their names every night, and they were safe. Other planets tried lies. They deleted records, burned labs, blamed others. It didn't help. They vanished anyway, some in seconds, some slowly losing memories. Then lights, then life. One race reported forgetting its own name. Their leaders wept. They forgot why. Then silence, the scariest part. No human army ever appeared. No humans were seen. No satellites moved. Earth just watched. And in that watching, entire civilizations stopped existing. Because nothing was worse than human silence. It wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was something deeper. Something no alien could understand. A secret message spread in the dark channels of the galaxy. It said, "They will never speak again. They have cried enough. Now the stars will weep instead." One brave alien captain, a female named Shara Delve, flew to Earth alone. She landed in an old forest in the north. There was no wind. No sound. She stepped out of her ship, holding a small gift, a child's toy from her world. She placed it on the ground. And whispered, "I'm sorry." Nothing happened, but when she turned to leave, a soft voice reached her ears. A child's voice. It said, "We remember." She looked around. No one was there, but her ship's systems had changed. The stars looked brighter, and when she left, she knew her people were safe, because she had said sorry, and meant it. But many more had not, and for them, time was running out, because the stars were still watching, and Earth's silence still held its breath. In the black void of space, something shimmered. Not a ship, not a weapon, just light, a small shape, a child's shadow, floating among stars, eyes closed, hands folded, and around it, entire planets began to fade. No ships had launched. No armies had moved. But death had come. Quiet. Slow. And no one could stop it, because it was powered by something no alien weapon could understand. A mother's cry, a father's silence, a world's grief. And now the galaxy was learning. You can mock strength. You can laugh at fear. But when you break a human heart, you break the stars themselves. No one truly noticed it at first. Small things began to disappear. Plans, ideas, inventions. On the planet Urinal, a famous inventor forgot how to build the energy cores she'd spent her whole life perfecting. On Traxxas 5, engineers lost the code to maintain their floating cities. One scientist called it data erosion. But it wasn't only files and blueprints vanishing. It was future. It began soon after the second wave of disappearances. The Galactic Union tried to create a log of which races had taken human children, but every time they finished it, it deleted itself. Even when printed on paper, even when carved into stone, the names would fade. It was as if the truth no longer wanted to be remembered. On the planet Lorgoth Prime, children stopped being born. No medical reason. No illness. Just Empty delivery rooms. The best doctors couldn't explain it. It was like life had skipped them. Parents waited, but the cradle stayed cold. The Lorgoth had once captured 6 human kids and used them in sensory research. They said the tests were safe. Now their species faced extinction, and they couldn't even say why. Some called it a curse. Others said Earth was rewriting time itself. But those closest to Earth, its neighboring stars, understood something deeper. Earth wasn't destroying, it was reclaiming. On Mars, a strange signal was found. It wasn't sent by humans, but it came from Earth. The signal was a pulse, steady and low. Inside it, coded in an ancient Earth language, were just 4 words: "Give back what you stole." It played every 13 hours, across the galaxy. And with each pulse, someone else forgot how to build. Someone else forgot how to dream. The Union tried to fight back. They built new memory vaults, deep space stations, designed to store knowledge, but the knowledge kept breaking. Blueprints turned to gibberish. Maps twisted into unreadable spirals. Entire education systems failed. Students stared at blank screens. Teachers forgot what they were teaching. One by one, the future vanished, and Earth said nothing. On the edge of known space, the Krellan Empire tried to escape. They were powerful. Cold. Logical. They had once stolen 10 human children for advanced cloning studies. Now they packed their cities into giant ships and fled toward another galaxy. Halfway through the jump, their engines reversed. They didn't explode. They just turned back toward Earth. No matter how far they tried to run, their ships moved slowly, silently, like puppets, and written across their control panels, glowing in human text, "Come see what you've done." The Union begged Earth for peace. A message was sent: "We are sorry. We will punish those responsible. Please stop." Earth didn't answer, but somewhere in deep space, a human voice whispered on the comm channels, "You let them cry. Now let them scream." The message was traced to nowhere. No ship, no satellite, just voice and void. An alien artist from the Melian cluster painted a picture. She said it came from her dreams. The image was shared secretly through the underground networks. It showed a field of stars, all bent inward toward one shape, a single human child, sleeping. And around that child, tears. Weapons. Empty chairs, burning books. And broken clocks. Below the painting, one line was written: "This is what you took. This is what we take." Soon, the galaxy began to feel heavy. Not just in memory or fear. Gravity changed in strange places. Time felt slower near Earth. Some stars near Sol flickered, then stopped shining forever. One Union scientist made a bold claim: Earth is grieving, and the universe is grieving with it. In Sector 12, the Vorta species tried something desperate. They built a device called the Seed of Hope, a machine meant to create new ideas, new energy, a future. It failed. Instead, it began speaking in a child's voice. "Where is my mom?" The device melted. The Vorta's skies turned gray, and their next 3 generations were born without voices. They could live, but not speak. They had taken 2 human infants from Earth to train them as galactic interpreters. Now they had no words. One planet, Fexel Prime, had never taken a human. They were peaceful. Kind. But they had watched others suffer and said nothing. They had done nothing. When their leader tried to speak in the Union Council, she coughed up flowers, her lungs filled with petals. Doctors saved her, but every time she opened her mouth to lie, more petals came. The silence wasn't just punishing the guilty. It was consuming the bystanders. The only ones untouched were the ones who returned the children, or who had helped humans, or who had cried with them. These rare species began protecting their few memories, their few working ships. They lit candles, they sang Earth songs, and they hoped the silence would pass over them. Some called these survivors the forgiven. But most weren't that lucky. On a moon base near Norkel 3, one of the last functioning supercomputers displayed something strange. It opened by itself, typed on its own. A simple question appeared. If you had listened to their tears, would they still be dreaming? No one knew how to answer. Before the screen went dark, the computer printed one more line. Dreams denied become weapons. A secret meeting was held. The last remaining Union members, just 6 races now, spoke in hushed tones. They asked one another, what do humans want? Why are they doing this? The oldest among them, a blind creature named Vol, answered softly, they don't want revenge. They don't want war. They want time turned back. But time only moves forward, unless you steal it. In an abandoned lab orbiting Saturn, an old message was found. It had been recorded by a human father. Before Earth went silent, he stared into the camera. His voice was low, calm, broken. He said, I gave her pancakes every Sunday. She loved the stars. She wanted to build rockets. But you took her, and now she won't grow. So why should your galaxies? That message spread across the galaxy. It became legend. And as it did, another truth became clear. The humans weren't erasing history. They were erasing future. Entire research stations went blank. Star maps shifted. No. New ideas came. Galaxies that once dreamed of tomorrow now barely held on to today. Children stopped asking questions. Adults stared into space, wondering what they had done. And somewhere on Earth, deep below the soil, something pulsed, something watched, something waited. Not for revenge, but for return. One child. That's all it would take. Just one return to Earth. Alive. And maybe, just maybe, the silence would end. But those children were gone. And so, the stars began to dim. The last line of a dying species' prayer echoed into the void. Forgive us not for what we did, but for not stopping those who did. Because when the young were taken, Earth didn't take revenge. It took their futures. Skies above Earth had once been blue. Now they held something different. Not clouds, not storms. Something. Watching. It didn't shine. It didn't move. It just hung above the planet like a forgotten memory. Across the galaxy, weather patterns began to change. Rain fell on desert worlds. Frozen stars melted. Gas giants wept mist. One scientist called it emotional climate disruption. But deep inside, every species knew the skies were crying. Not because of water, not because of heat, because of loss. Planet Dravon once had a sky filled with lightning storms. The people called it the screaming sky. But one morning, all sounds stopped. The storms were silent. The clouds froze in place. And then snow began to fall. They had never seen snow before. Inside each snowflake was a tiny image, so small only deep scan tech could see it. Every flake showed a sleeping child. Human. Peaceful. Tears on their cheeks. No one understood how it was possible, but that didn't matter anymore. The message was clear. Even the sky remembered what was taken. On the moon Veralis 6, a music tower once played songs into deep space. It had done so for 200 years without fail. Suddenly, it stopped. Then it played something new, a lullaby. Human. Soft. Old. It echoed through the stars like a whisper. Aliens from hundreds of worlds heard it in their minds, and with it, they felt guilt. Deep, cold guilt. Some dropped to their knees. Some screamed. Some wept for children they never knew. Because the lullaby didn't carry sound. It carried feeling. A ship captain from the Torvan Ranges turned his cruiser toward a nearby sun. He ordered his crew to abandon ship. Only he remained inside. He sent a final message. We should have protected them. If the skies weep, let me vanish in their tears. The sun accepted him. His ship was never found. Only a faint humming remained. A child's hum. It still echoes today. On Earth. Clouds grew thick, but they didn't bring thunder. They brought silence. The kind of silence that made hearts heavy and rooms colder. People could still see the stars, but they looked dimmer, like they were grieving too. One day, without warning, it rained across 20 planets. The same day, same hour, same minute. It wasn't water. It wasn't acid. It was clear, soft mist, and when it touched the ground, it left behind symbols. Not in alien language. In human children's handwriting. Sentences like, "Why did you take me? I wanted to go home. Mama said monsters aren't real." She was wrong. The Union ordered the messages erased, but they kept returning, etched into walls. Printed on flowers. Written in wind. On Nezeril 1, a species tried to mock it. They created a play called The Human Tears. They laughed on stage, wore fake sad faces, and pretended to cry. Their audience roared with laughter. 2 days later, their skies turned red. Not with fire. With eyes. Thousands of childlike eyes appeared in the clouds. They blinked. Then vanished. After that, Nazaro 1 had no more art. No more colors. Just gray. Even dreams stopped. Back in the core worlds, the Union fell into chaos. Meetings turned into arguments. Arguments into fights. One ambassador shouted, "They're just humans. Why is the universe bending for them?" No one had an answer, because deep inside, they all felt it. They had poked something pure. Something precious. And now that precious thing had cried, and its tears were powerful enough to change space itself. Small ship called Mercy Line made a discovery near a collapsing nebula. Inside the nebula, they found a single floating object, a teddy bear. Old. Burned. But untouched by time. Scans showed it had once belonged to a child named Arya, abducted by the species Joktaran 5 years ago. They had said she didn't survive testing. Now, the Joktaran's entire star system was gone. Vanished. No explosion. No sound. Only this bear remained. Still warm. Still waiting. Message was stitched into its fur. She was loved. Galactic priests, monks, and spiritual leaders began to meet in secret. They believed the skies were not just crying for Earth. They were crying for all lost innocence. They said the stars remembered every broken promise, every stolen laugh. Every bedtime story that was never finished. And now, the sky itself had become memory. Living, breathing, watching. A species called the Yulari had once been kind. They never hurt Earth. They helped humans escape during the first abductions. Now, they lit giant lanterns every night. 1,000 lights for the 1,000 children taken. Their skies shimmered in soft gold, and they were spared. Not just spared, blessed. Their tech worked better. Their crops grew faster. Their young learned quicker. One child, born on a lantern night, spoke her first words at 2 weeks old. She looked at the stars and whispered, "They hear us." Back on Earth, a storm brewed above the northern oceans. It didn't move, didn't strike, just spun in place like a turning wheel. Ships that got too close reported hearing laughter, not joyful laughter. Childish. Tired. Lonely. The Union's final attempt came in the form of Operation Clear Skies. They built a giant device to block emotional waves from Earth. To shut out the silence. To hide from the crying sky. They powered it up near Jupiter. It hummed. Buzzed. Then cracked. The clouds above Earth opened, and a voice was heard, childlike, clear, and full of sadness. "You still don't listen." The machine turned to dust. And above the Union's command station, written in lightning, "Every child remembers." Now even the bravest generals stopped speaking Earth's name. They called it the grieving planet. They told soldiers not to look in its direction. They warned ships to block all signals coming from Sol, but the silence always found a way. Through dreams, through whispers, through tears. The galaxy didn't know if Earth would ever speak again. But one truth had taken root in every corner of space. The sky had cried with them, and the universe had followed. The message wasn't long. Just 3 words. No weapon. No sound. Just silence. And then, we remember everything. It appeared first on an abandoned space station near Pluto, written across every screen, etched into the metal walls, burned into the floor. Those 3 words repeated over and over again. No one had sent it. No signal was tracked. But within minutes, the message spread like wildfire across the galaxy. On the great data hub of Verix 9, the message interrupted every system. Navigation blocked, communication hijacked, education centers replaced with one line: we remember everything. It couldn't be deleted, couldn't be shut down. Technicians tried to erase it, but every time they did, their systems crashed and the message came back twice as big. At first, the Union called it a hack. A trick. Another strange Earth virus. But then, the message started showing up in places without tech. Caves. Trees. The sky. A child on the planet Helver drew it in the dirt, even though no one had told him the words. A waterfall on Lunara flowed in a shape that spelled it out. One captain saw it in the stars, literally, written across the night sky. Billions stared up and read it the same way. We remember everything. People tried to ignore it, but deep down, the galaxy knew this wasn't just a message. It was a judgment. The message didn't ask for peace, didn't offer deals. It didn't beg or scream. It simply existed. And with it came weight. Guilt. Memory. In a quiet corner of the Andril system, a teacher stood before her class. She began her usual lesson on galactic politics, but when she opened her book, it was blank. Every page gone. She turned to the board to write, but her hand froze. Her mind emptied. And then she began to cry, not because she was scared, but because she suddenly remembered a little human girl who used to sit on her lap. The girl had been taken during the collection programs. The teacher thought she'd forgotten her. But now, she remembered. Every laugh. Every question, every hug. She dropped to her knees and whispered, "I'm sorry, Naya." On the planet Valkene 7, 3 soldiers reported hearing children's voices whispering through their helmets. At first, they thought it was a malfunction. Then the voices spoke in perfect detail, describing the layout of the labs where they were tested, naming their captors, screaming their names. The soldiers threw off their helmets, but the voices were inside their heads, and when medics arrived, they found the soldiers unconscious, each one clutching their own heart. Doctors couldn't explain it, but all 3 had exactly the same dream: a playground, and a girl who looked at them and said, "I remember you." The Union tried one last thing. They sent a message to Earth. Begging. Not for peace, but for understanding. They said, "We have failed. The ones who hurt your children, many are dead. Please, we ask, what do you want from us now?" They waited. For hours, for days. Then finally, Earth responded. One signal, one image. No sound. No voice, just a single picture of a child's drawing. A house. A family. Stars in the sky, and one corner torn. Burned. Lost. Below the image, a sentence written in shaky human handwriting: "You can't return what's gone." That's when the galaxy truly broke. Not because of war. Not because of fire. Because they knew they couldn't fix this. The damage wasn't on Earth. It was inside them. The Uruthi, a proud warrior race, shut down their war academies. They sent their best generals to Earth's orbit in ships, covered with white flags. They never entered the atmosphere. They simply hovered and released thousands of small canisters. Each canister held the name of a human child they had. Wronged. Written in gold. Carved in crystal. They offered them to space, but the canisters didn't fall, didn't burn. They floated upward. As if the sky itself accepted the offering. And then, the ships left. Empty. Peacefully. On the ice world, Yerenthal, something impossible happened. A mountain cracked open. Inside was a glowing orb never seen before. It pulsed. It spoke. not in sound, but in memory. Every person on the planet remembered. A different human child. Each one saw the child's life, the dreams, the fear, the love, even those who had never seen a human before. It was no longer a question of what do the humans want. Now the question became, how do we live knowing we broke something that can never be fixed? One alien, poet from Reckon, wrote, they didn't send ships. They didn't fire weapons. They sent pain back to us wrapped in silence and stars, and we fell to our knees. His words spread faster than any virus. And with it, many followed. People knelt in public squares. They lit candles. They placed flowers under earths. Constellations. They said names they barely remembered, because forgetting had become dangerous. A galactic law was passed. No one was allowed to speak against Earth. Again, their sky was to be protected. Their silence was to be respected. Their children were never to be touched. Again. But Earth did not respond. No celebration. No forgiveness. Just more silence. The message, we remember everything, still floated across the stars, now not as a warning, but as a fact. One last event shook the galaxy. A dying comet flew near Earth. It should have passed, but instead, it slowed. Turned. Stopped. And from its glowing trail, a voice spoke out across all known channels. This time, a child's voice. Clear. Soft. Forgiving. It said, you can heal, but only if you never forget us again. Then the comet vanished. For the first time in history, the galaxy fell to its knees, not because of orders, not because of power, but because of grief, because they finally understood. The silence wasn't Earth's weapon. It was their memory. The stars had always watched. They had seen wars, deaths, betrayal, and rebirth, but this time, they didn't blink. They stood still like statues of light in the sky, because something on Earth was finally stirring. After years of silence. After the message, we remember everything, had haunted every planet. Earth finally opened its eyes. No ship came from it. No signal burst out, but something changed, and every species felt it. In their hearts. In their dreams, even in their bones. Like the air across the galaxy had shifted direction. On the moon, XL4, night watchers reported seeing Earth's clouds twist into a spiral. Not random. A shape. A symbol. When zoomed in, it formed the shape of an open eye. Perfect, sharp, glowing with soft golden light. Within 1 hour, 1 billion eyes across the galaxy started watering for no reason. People felt watched. Not in fear, but in deep sadness. As if someone was gently asking, did you think we'd sleep forever? High in the orbit of Earth, thousands of satellites tried to study the change, but something strange happened. The machines didn't fail. They knelt. Yes. They turned and pointed their cameras down. Even the coldest machines lowered their lenses, like heads bowing in respect. A sign. Earth was awake. The Drethery High Council, a proud, cruel race, gathered to plan. Their leader, Commander Leek Tal, stood up and shouted, Earth cannot be allowed to act. They are waking. Stop them now. But before he could finish, the ceiling of their hall cracked. A ray of golden light pierced through, and every screen, every wall, every floor flashed the same words. Would you wake a sleeping mother with a scream? Then silence. Commander Leektal sat down. He never spoke. Again. Meanwhile, on the jungle world Vishati, the trees began to sing. Not through music. Through memory. Leaves shimmered with faces. Human children smiling. Birds whispered names never spoken there before. And the wind said only one thing. She is watching. On Earth's surface, strange things began to move. Not weapons. Not machines. Just places. A forest in Europe turned silver. Rocks in Australia began to float. Mountains in South America grew taller by 10 meters overnight. The oceans pulsed, not like waves, but like a heartbeat. Scientists across the galaxy panicked. This defies all natural law. They said, but the poets understood. One wrote, "A planet that cried now breathes, beware the breath of sorrow." On a deep space station, a human survivor named Mara finally smiled. She had escaped long ago. She had grown old and hiding. Now, her eyes lit up. She whispered to herself, "She's awake. She heard us." And that's when Earth looked back. Yes, looked. From every planet, through every screen, in every mirror, every lake, every shiny surface, people saw something behind them. A glimpse, not a face, not a figure, just presence, like the Earth itself was looking at them. Measuring, remembering, judging. On the frozen world Krenvac, a child looked at the stars and asked his father, "Are they angry?" The father didn't answer. He couldn't, because the stars didn't move. They didn't twinkle. They just stared. Waiting. The Union Council, once proud and powerful, sent another message, more desperate this time. They begged Earth, "Please, if you have demands, tell us. We are ready to pay. We want peace." But Earth did not reply with words. Instead, something else happened. On Mira 7, a giant statue appeared. No one built it. No one saw it arrive. It was just there one morning. A tall woman, eyes closed, holding a child, carved from starlight in stone. Under it, 5 words were burned into the ground. "You forgot." But we didn't. The people of Mira 7 fell silent. They began leaving offerings, flowers, food, even weapons. A small girl came forward and placed her doll at the statue's feet. That night, the stars over Mira 7 danced, like they were smiling again. The galaxy was breaking, not from attack, but from the truth. Earth didn't need to fight. Its pain was louder than war. Its grief was sharper than any sword. Its awakening, unstoppable. On Earth's moon, a small dome cracked open. Under it was a device long forgotten, built by humans before they vanished. It played a song. A soft one. A lullaby. Same as the one heard years ago from the tower on Vera List-6. Only this time, it had words. A child's voice sang, "Stars above, hold my hand. Don't let go, don't let me land. If I sleep, will you stay? Or forget me in the day?" The galaxy stopped breathing. On planet Rafun, time froze. Literally. Clocks stopped. Rivers paused. A soldier dropped the cup and it hovered midair. For 3 whole minutes, the world held still, and in that stillness, one word echoed across space: remember. And then, Earth opened its real eyes, not through machines, not through signals, but through dreams. Billions of beings, across thousands of planets, had the same dream. A woman, standing barefoot in a ruined city. Ash falling like snow. She said nothing. She only looked. And behind her, children thousands stood silently, each one glowing. Each one holding hands. And then, the dream ended. No one forgot it. No one ever could. A high priest of the Zukari order declared, "Earth is no longer a planet. It is a spirit, a wound, a living truth." Many laughed at him. Until every temple in the Zukari system burned down without fire. Only ash remained. Ash in the shape of children's footprints. The stars had held their breath, and now it began to tremble, because when Earth opened its eyes, everything changed. Even the darkest corners of the galaxy, the pirate systems, slaver rings, black labs began to shut down, not because they were attacked, but because they were haunted. Screens flickered, machines failed, doors opened when they shouldn't. And always, always, the same message appeared before systems collapsed: "She sees you." Back on Earth, nothing more moved. Nothing more was said. Because now, the galaxy finally understood. They had awakened the grief of a planet, and that grief was now awake. They thought they could run. They thought they could hide from Earth. From the past, from the grief now awake. But they were wrong, because Earth was not sending ships. She was sending her children, and the galaxy didn't even notice, because they looked for soldiers. Not survivors, they scanned for fleets. Not footsteps, they searched the stars. But Earth's children had already arrived. They were not in uniforms. They were not armed. They didn't shout or fight. But they were there, in the shadows, in the silence, in the dreams of the guilty on the mining world Jerax. A supervisor named Krint always laughed when people mentioned Earth. Humans are gone, he'd say. Ash in the wind. He said it every day, until one morning the wind changed, and ash did blow through the mining camp, gray, silent, and in it, footprints, tiny ones, children's steps. They led right to his office, and inside, written on his desk, were 5 words. You laughed when they cried. Krint disappeared that night. His body was never found. Only his chair remained, spinning slowly, in silence. On Zentha Prime, a doctor who had once experimented on human children retired with wealth and power. He had erased his records, changed his name, built walls around himself. But walls don't block dreams. And the dream came, every night, same child, same voice, soft, double quotes, do you remember me yet? The doctor stopped sleeping, stopped eating, one day. He walked out into the frozen ocean and never returned. They thought Earth was sending revenge, but this wasn't revenge, it was something deeper, something worse, it was truth, truth, truth. Whispering, truth with the face of a child. The galaxy started seeing them, not in groups, but one by one. A girl with a red scarf walking through the halls of power. A boy with a wooden toy, sitting silently on a battlefield. A child standing under a glowing tree, staring at the sky. People tried to approach them, but every time someone got close, the child would look at them, and they would remember. A pilot on Viridex 3 saw one in his ship, just standing in the cargo hold. He swore he had locked the door. The child looked at him and said, "You flew them away." The pilot screamed, he crashed into the hangar wall. When others arrived, there was no child, just a message scratched into the metal. They called for you. On the icy moon Belrin, a gang leader who sold human orphans to black markets saw his own reflection. Whispered, his reflection smiled. The gang leader, DIDN, single quotes T. Because the reflection held a human child's hand, and both said in perfect unison, "They're not lost. Just waiting." The gang leader dropped his gun and fled. He was later found rocking in a corner, eyes wide, repeating, "They're already here." They never left. Everywhere the children appeared, the same thing happened. Memory returned, not to Earth, to those who had tried to forget. And forgetting was no longer safe. On the floating market world of Tursek, a singer performed a song from ancient Earth, a lullaby. She had never learned the words. Before, she didn't know how she was singing it. She just knew it felt right. When she finished, a single tear rolled down her cheek. And from the crowd, a child clapped once, then vanished. Soon, more began to see them, even those who had never harmed humans, because the truth didn't care about guilt alone. It cared about memory. And Earth's children? They were the memory. On the planet Garnal, 3 warlords met in secret. They had helped destroy Earth's early resistance. Now they feared the dreams, the signs, the silence. So they built a shield, a great field of energy, strong enough to block all thought. Or so they believed. But the night it powered on, 3 children stood outside the dome. Laughing. Smiling. The warlord shouted, "They cannot get in." But the children didn't need to, because inside, each warlord began to bleed from the nose. They collapsed, their last words. They know our names. Word spread. Fast. Across every system. The children are coming, but not to attack, not to conquer. To remind. To awaken. To whisper, "We are still here." And then, something impossible happened. One of the children spoke to the galaxy. No ship. No camera. Just appearing on every screen. Every mirror, every drop of water. A little girl with curly hair and big, brown eyes. She smiled, waved, and said, "Hello, I'm Ada. You tried to forget me. But I never forgot you. I forgive you. But I won't let you forget." And with that, she was gone, everywhere. People fell to their knees, not out of fear, but from relief. The silence was over. Earth's children were speaking, and their voices were not angry. They were clear. They were true. They were stronger than any weapon. A scientist on Valerian whispered, "They didn't send an army. They sent the truth wearing small shoes." In the deep of space, a rogue fleet tried to escape. Old enemies of Earth, hiding in dark space, thinking they were safe. But one by one, their engines failed, their lights flickered, and in every ship's corridor, a child's drawing appeared. Always. The same image, a hand reaching out, a star above it, and a sentence, "Come home." The fleet never made it out, not because they were attacked, but because they turned around. All of them voluntarily. They returned. They surrendered, and when asked why, their admiral simply said, "I heard my daughter's voice again." The galaxy finally understood. Earth's children had not died. They had become something greater. Something that lived inside memory. Not ghosts, not spirits, but reminders, echoes that walked, truths that breathed, and they would never stop until every corner of the galaxy remembered what was lost. On Earth, the ground grew warm. Flowers began to bloom in places that had been dead for decades, and the stars, once still, began to move again, because the galaxy was no longer hiding. It was remembering. And with memory came hope. She had not spoken. Not once. Through all the pain, through all the loss, through all the silence, Earth, the mother of the forgotten, had kept her voice, buried deep, but the galaxy knew. She was awake. She was watching. And then, one day, she spoke. It began with a sound. Soft. Like the hush before a storm. Wind. No. Breath. A single breath heard across systems, moons, even inside space stations. It came not from machines, not from speakers, but from inside every heart that had ever heard Earth's name, a whisper. Enough. The moment it was heard, every engine in the Varnock sector stalled, not because of failure, but because they chose to stop. Even machines listened, even the stars held still. The whisper wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was truth given sound. On planet Drell 2, the elders dropped their sacred stones. The stones cracked open, revealing human toys, long thought lost in the ancient wars. The people wept, not from guilt, but from knowing. They had finally remembered. And when truth returns, so does sorrow. And from sorrow comes healing. That same day, in orbit above Earth, a message appeared. In space. Not written, not spoken, just felt. In the minds of all. You broke her heart. She cried through the stars, but now she speaks. And then it happened. The sky changed. Every galaxy, every system, every moon looked up. And saw Earth. No matter where they were. No matter how far. They saw her. Clear. Blue. Alive. She floated above them all. Not in size, but in presence. Like her image had burned itself into the universe. She was not a planet anymore. She was something greater. A being, a soul, a voice. And the voice came again, clearer this time. A woman's voice. Warm. Strong. And grieving. She sighed. "I sent my children into your stars. They went with open hands. You sent them back in ashes. The stars dimmed. The suns flickered. And even the coldest planets grew warm, because her words were not anger, they were grief. She continued, "I do not come for war. I do not come for power. I come because you must remember. Not am. And suddenly, every planet heard the same names. Spoken gently. A list. Endless. Each name belonging to a lost human child. Across the galaxy, people dropped to their knees. Not by force, but from the weight of remembrance. One by one, the stars began to glow brighter. Each time a name was spoken, a light, a whisper, a heartbeat. On Shura, a war-torn planet, soldiers threw down their weapons. Commander, a harsh lizard-like general, looked up with tears in his eyes and said, "We forgot who we were." She didn't. The voice continued, "You feared what you did not understand, so you destroyed it. But they were only children. They still are." And then something impossible happened. From every sky, from every river, from every shadow, the children returned, not as ghosts, not as weapons, but as light, pure, warm. They stood beside those who remembered them, and they forgave. One child appeared before a leader who had once voted to erase Earth. He fell to the floor, weeping. The child placed a small hand on his shoulder and said, "I forgive you." That night, the man died peacefully and smiling. The children became beacons, guides, teachers. They walked the streets of forgotten cities. They helped rebuild burned-out towns. They sang songs in broken languages. They healed what fear had shattered. In Earth. She watched. She no longer needed to speak. Her children were her voice now. The galaxy changed. Peace came not by force, but by memory. Wars stopped. Borders opened. Prisons were emptied of the innocent, because the galaxy remembered what it had done. And chose not to do it again. A new alliance was born, not built on power, but on protection. They called it the Circle of Light. At its center, Earth. But Earth did not lead. She did not rule. She simply existed. Quiet. Present. Whole. And the final message appeared one night across every screen, every stone, every sky. "We are not your enemies. We are not your monsters. We were your future. And we still are." The galaxy was silent after that. Not in fear, but in understanding. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full. Full of names. Full of memories. Full of hope. And in the quiet, a single star blinked. Then another. And another. Like Earth was smiling. The mother had spoken once, and it was enough, because when Earth speaks, the universe listens.